Based off the Berlier GBC 6x6, the Mercer K520 enters the game as a surprisingly strong vehicle. Its real-life version was designed in 1956 and produced in record time that was less than 10 months. More than 32,000 vehicles were made in this process for civilian and military use. It is said that the GBC was well balanced with an identical load for each 3 driven axles. In SnowRunner, however, the Mercer is one of the smaller, but it does impress, potentially placing it among the best in its class. So with that being said, let's dive into the pros and cons, and you know what comes first. I'm going to explain why this is not such a big deal later, but per the numerical value given, this was not going to escape the downsides list at 150,000 torque, which is the same as the Paystar 5070. However, if you follow the channel closely, that comparison is not really such a bad thing. Rather minor grievances here at downside number 2, but still very valid, is the front overhang, which I have caught leading to potential damage to my engine, and we'll see the significance of that shortly. Even though it does have a shorter wheelbase, Season 15 and other places do catch your fuel tanks, especially those ice Doritos that just love to shift sporadically. Additional low gears are great to manipulate, especially due to the slow and steady grinded out nature of the Mercer in my humble opinion, but with load I've seen it burn through some fuel with those heavy loads I just spoke of. Later though, we'll talk about its custom gearbox that mitigates this with potential loss of some low gears. Why is this so important? Well, in Season 15, cargo can be pretty intense, and damage tolerance to a rather weak engine is pretty alarming. With one of the lowest damage thresholds in the game, the Mercer's consumption greatly increases when the engine becomes damaged, and only retains about 50% of its actual power. When we couple this with downside number 4, it is a valid issue to note. Having a small fuel tank isn't that bad considering its small roof rack and bed supplies if you're using its custom add-ons. However, it's not really that much fuel, and with the mention of our previous downside, I think this merits being on this list as well. Something that happened in the PTS that was very advantageous to the Mercer, but I don't think it totally solved the issue, was a saddle aft position adjustment, and that was during the early parts of the PTS. This might not seem bad, but with the frame length of the vehicle being rather short, the saddle was still kind of far from the rear. This is something that can cause collision with semi-trailers going over uneven surfaces, and this can cause steering loss. The recent changes were for the better, but I will say the occurrence has decreased. There have been times that this has been noted during gameplay. Alright y'all, if these downsides made you lose confidence in the Mercer, I would ask that you please stick around for the upsides because they are quite impressive. Let's take a look. In short, and with simplicity here, all-wheel drive diff lock and a custom special gearbox that's essentially a little faster than the off-road gearbox with 2 less low gears, more normal gears, and a 20% all-wheel drive penalty rather than a 40% all-wheel drive penalty that's from the off-road gearbox. This gives players the options to have the same consumption as the balanced gearbox with the addition of a high gear. During my Season 15 journey on the public test server and on the live server release, it was essentially trial by fire for the Mercer. I started out pulling heavy loads of cargo with overstacking, and I must say it was very impressive. Quebec is not an easy place to drive, and it's very cargo intense, similar to that of Yukon. The Mercer performed well despite downside number 1. I felt it was similar to that of the Paystar 5070, and I can explain this on my next point. I don't mean to reference old videos, but there's a reason why the Mercer can pull loads similar to that what we've seen from the Paystar 5070 pull, as well as with the same engine power, and that is the heavy wheels instead of medium weighted tires. Heavy tires or even super heavy tires are a way that the developer can increase pulling potential for vehicles with very low power to weight. It is unclear how this truly works, but simply put, it's basically like giving a truck more pulling power. Lastly, the K520 gets a 49-inch custom tire that are similar to that of the OHS2s, but a little bit wider, and it also gets the famous off-road heavy doubles. With a raised suspension, 49-inch tires, and a collision mesh that is very favorable, I mean very favorable, almost like there isn't much there, the Mercer can mitigate downside number 2. But I would still expect these events because, well, it is SnowRunner after all, but for a smaller vehicle, it has been very, very impressive. I was pretty hard on the Mercer during the Season 15 public test server. Overstacking, heavy loads, navigating ice, and all those things it handled very well. I can't say that it is the most stable truck in the game, but enough to merit it a spot on this list. Its center of gravity is rather low, its suspension and frame flex are all things that contribute to having good balance. Overall, I think drivers will appreciate it, but I think with the off-road heavy double tires, this upside increases even more. As a fan of using semi-trailers, it was very pleasing to see its saddle aft adjustment and that it is set up to just be more of a semi-trailer hauler. Its longitudinal CG is more to the front end to help retain steering control, and it also boasts an American small crane, which is a huge W. In addition to having the smaller frame, it has special cargo add-ons for support and also a 2-slot bed, and I can say overall the add-ons are plentiful for a truck of this size, but I believe its true potential is for hauling semi-trailers with large OHD tires and good pulling potential. Yes, I kind of bashed on its efficiency and the downsides, but other than times it's struggling with massive hauls through tough terrain and slopes, the Mercer is actually rather efficient, and even in Season 15 its range has impressed me despite having a small fuel tank and a minimal roof rack supply to supplement. I would say the key to having amazing efficiency and range for this vehicle would be essentially to use the custom gearbox. You'll have much better consumption values than that of an off-road gearbox or even the high range. So in conclusion, the Mercer is, in my humble opinion, up near the top when it comes to the off-road trucks. With all downsides considered, none of them really concern me too much because they don't greatly inhibit performance, other than its engine durability if you actually damage the truck. I've been pretty tough on this vehicle in Quebec and in testing as well. It has broken places, and in others it's bent and pushed through. I've been super impressed, far more than let down, and as I've said in the past, trucks seem to be getting much more powerful as the game continues. The Mercer is more of a saddle-focused semi-truck that fits essentially right into my gameplay style. I absolutely love it. Setting weight down on heavy double tires and just grind it out with reasonable paces makes for a great experience. It's not going to wow you with blazing speed, especially under load, but slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Will it get into high gear with load? Absolutely. But it's not going to run it like something like a Tega or a Voron. If you understand upside number 3, then downside number 1 won't really concern players as much. Yes, we all love to see those big engine numbers, but this little unique monster is one that I would rank quite high. If I may be so bold to say, of the 2 Season 15 vehicles given, this one brings me the most excitement. So try this one out and let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed the review and also potentially learned a few things along the way as well. So until next time y'all, God bless and stay upright.